Hey y'all, Dan Wright from Pops and Schools here. I'd like to take a few moments to talk about 4 fundamentals of brass playing and how you can incorporate them into your regular practice routine. It can be quite difficult to stay in performance shape during times when rehearsing or performing with your friends and fellow musicians isn't really an option. However, if you incorporate these simple concepts and exercises into your routine, you shouldn't have any trouble jumping back into performing to the best of your ability when the time comes. Flexibility, articulation, dexterity, and musicality are the 4 fundamentals, or I guess we could just say topics, that I'd like to discuss today. Let's dive right in and get into flexibility first. Flexibility is an essential skill for brass players. It's important to be able to move around the range of our instruments in a smooth and secure manner, regardless of the dynamic or speed that we're playing at. In order to either maintain or push the limits of our flexibility, we generally practice lip slurs. The first clip that you're about to see is a flexibility exercise for beginner and intermediate students. The second clip that you'll see is for intermediate and advancing students. Next, I'd like to talk about articulation. Articulation, or the act of articulating, simply denotes how a note is sounded. By that, I'm referring to how strong you attack a note and how quickly it decays. 2 very common terms in regards to articulation are legato and staccato. Legato means that notes are to be played smoothly and connected. Staccato means that a note, or consecutive notes, should be played with a shortened duration or detached. Beginners can use their scale practice to incorporate working on different articulations. Here's an example of the C major scale articulated as legato and then staccato. If you're an intermediate or advancing brass player, there are scale pattern exercises that are available in Clark Technical Studies or the Alan Vizzuti Technical Studies books. Regardless of which book you decide to use, you should play the exercises with a variety of articulation techniques. These scale patterns should be played in all 12 keys. While these exercises are generally written in major keys, you can also play them as minors, whole tone, or diminished. articulation addresses the relationship between your air and tongue. Dexterity brings your finger and valves to the forefront. Closing and opening valves, like so, changes the length of the instrument by shooting air through the 3 valve slides. Depending which brass instrument you play, there may be more valve slides, and in rare cases, less valve slides. A standard trumpet like this one has 3 valve slides. Due to math, having 3 valves means that there are 7 possible different valve combinations. Fun fact, those 7 valve combinations are directly linked to the 7 slide positions that exist for trombone players. Generally, when we find ourselves having trouble keeping up with fast passages, it's because either A, our fingers aren't conditioned well enough to play proficiently at a quick pace, or B, the player's airflow or attack isn't synchronized with their fingers. When this happens, we can find ourselves unprepared for the sensation of moving air through longer or shorter tubes. Here's 2 chromatic exercises you can work on to increase your finger dexterity. The first exercise is Study 1 from Clark Technical Studies and is perfect for beginners and intermediate players. When you first begin working on these, make sure you start slowly and then gradually build speed over time. The second is a 2-octave chromatic exercise for the advancing player. Finally, we have musicality. Musicality is one of those elements of performing that can be very difficult to quantify and can be different for every person. I think of it as our ability to engage with an audience through music. When you next get the opportunity, there are 2 trumpet players I'd like for you to check out. One being Philip Smith, former principal trumpet of the New York Philharmonic, and the other being Miles Davis, one of the progenitors of jazz in the 20th century. These are 2 very different types of players and have both mastered being musical. While one could argue that Philip Smith is more proficient at playing the instrument, both players have a way of reaching the listener through their ability to be musical while playing at a high level. It's just as interesting to hear either player perform extremely fast passages as it is hearing them play expressive half and whole notes. It would be very easy to continue going down the rabbit hole of musicality and expression for days, but you have to decide what it means to you and what you'd like to convey to your audience. Experiment by performing something, literally anything, in front of your family, or maybe even just record yourself. The most important thing is that you enjoy yourself. When it comes down to it, that's what this is all about. Thanks for listening, and I hope this helps enhance your practice sessions. Take care.